Hi, I'm Michael Joy. Welcome back to another mold making reaction video. This is for our Hand-ufacturing platform, and we are at the basics. So there's people out there that will wonder why I'm saying such obvious things, but hey, if mold making is new to you, nothing's obvious. This is why we're getting the beginning in the bag. So let's get started. Well, use a bigger smearing tool. Use a bigger tool to put epoxy down, but I would just drop some screws through there. We're starting really at the beginning here, right? Building your tools. Ah, it looks like lard or something. I don't know if it's some sort of PVA but they have plywood. It's nice. I would have just used a laminated workboard to start with. That would have saved you a lot of trouble. Now he's preparing a model. Okay. Okay, whenever using a Dremel, these tips fling out plaster dust. It's not hazardous, but if your model is urethane resin, then it is hazardous. You're making a powder that's not great to breathe. So the box fan trick for keeping the plaster dust out of your face, if you don't have a spray booth or a downdraft booth, then you get a box fan. We'll show you a picture. It's a pretty little shape. Very Art Deco. Oh, this is unusual. Okay. What's happening is this person's going to build a multi-piece slip casting mold, and they're going to pour more than one section at a time, is what it looks like. Now, I'm going to kind of inject in advanced mold making here. I know I said it was basic, but since we're at a 4-piece mold here, this is not basic. Building more than one section at a time is a little bit tricky. I'm sure this person will make it work, but there is an advanced trick to shorten the amount of mold making sections. Let me orient myself, because I'm going to say things that maybe you haven't seen before. This cup is made of plaster. If through another series of mold making events, the result was that cup was rubber, silicone, and very soft, I could probably make a 2-piece mold of this. You're like, wait, look at all those undercuts. How would you do that? Because you're making a mold from a rubber object, the mold will come off of the rubber object. And you're like, yeah, but now my mold has undercuts. Aha. But when you put the mold together and you pour in the casting slip and then you drain it out, you let that cup shrink enough inside the mold and it will naturally shrink away from the undercuts. So there is a way to cast a mold with undercuts by taking advantage of working with a soft model and then working with the additional shrinkage time in the mold. You just let it shrink off the cuts. So that's advanced stuff. Let's see where we're going. Okay, measuring for equal sides. I'm watching the trees blow out here and I'm thinking it's windy inside, right? We have a fall day here. This is good. This is nicely filmed, kind of cinematographic. Again, the boards are a little big. These clamps are not my favorite. They're too valuable to use for this. Nice. Now, when people are doing this right here, is some people peel clay and smear it. What you do is you roll a snake and you lay down the whole clay snake. And then you don't just do this randomly. You go from one side and you drag it. And it's like, you're done. Okay, just mixing plaster. We're not talking about that. They measured the dry separate. That's fine. Ah, same gloves I use. If you hear that slurping noise, you've overmixed. Okay. So you can see that that's thick plaster. And this is, we'll see if they work through it, but this is one of the flaws of the layout of the mold that they did. You saw a detailed side here and over here with 2 pieces of clay. When they pour the when they pour the plaster in, the plaster has to rise up to the model. If their model were tipped flat, they would be pouring on top of the model and they could get in there with the brush to utilize take advantage of gravity for the detail. So it's a risky pour to do vertical pours. Pounding doesn't do a lot. You have to shake your whole table. And this should have been on a workboard because now she's welded it to the entire table. He's welded it. Oh, he had a little work surface there. Wow, stop. Okay, a couple things is I saw somebody using like a hunting knife to clean this up. If you don't want to hunt yourself, don't use those knives. And then a scalpel. Man, scalpels are going to put you in the hospital, guys. Don't use scalpels for mold making. There's too much exertion. You'll cut a tendon and you can't give a thumbs up. What is he holding? Okay. This is good. I hope yeah. The keys are overbuilt, but they're pretty. So far, I'm liking the save. I just think that there was a lot of time spent that we don't get to see. Whoa. You don't mix plaster like that. This is how you mix drywall mud. What's happening is they're putting in a lot of air here. Use the plaster mixing disc. I've talked about that in other videos. I'm going to show you how to make one. So what you see here is a caked up threaded rod. It's kind of a 1/4-20 rod, which is enough. And then this is a sanding disc, a buffing disc that's been, there's a wing nut here, and it's just been mounted to this rod. And when it spins, you see that wobble? That is ideal. If it cakes up a little bit, so what? You know, and it's not a problem. The other thing I wanted to say was his mixing blade was too short to the bucket. His drill was too close, so he could splash right there. You want your mixing thing to be so you can stand up and hold it. I have different lengths that I just showed you. I showed you the short one when I'm working tabletop, and I have a longer one when I'm standing, so I don't have to bend over and, like, you know, angle weird and all that stuff. When you power mix, the plaster sets very fast. So heads up. Mold soap. Oh, he only poured one piece. Listening to music while he's working. That's the right pour for this kind of detail. Oh, crumb. So when you use files, use a rasp, because what happens is the plaster is going to gum up your files, and then you're spending time cleaning files and it gets expensive. So files is not the way to go. Plaster sure forms. It's like a woodworker's thing. Yeah. I would just use either like Richard Lampert had a system for, or I would use a router drill bit. He's got this wobble going on here, which is okay, but it's not cool. Looks good. Take 25 cents, route it out. Soap that up. So what you can see here is along these lines here is the mold sections are not consistent because of the way he built it vertically. Also, he's going to have a seam line around the foot, above the foot of the cup, instead of at the foot of the cup, which is, sorry, let me just show you. His seam line is going to be right here when it should be right there. Not critical, just mold making logic. And now you gotta, oh, he didn't box it. So he's got step top, not great, but it's okay. Wait a minute. So something just happened. Because the outside of the mold perimeter was not shaved true, he couldn't have built a mold box around it. It would slosh a little bit. Something shifted that now he's able to build a mold box around it. What's up? There's a lot of things that happen off camera. Way too big a blade, as we mentioned. Still looks like it's pouring okay. A little thick. Don't use the rasps. It's like one and done with the Surform. These will rust out. It looks old school pretty, but you're just ruining your tools. What do we got? So what do I have to say about that video? I think I like watching different videos where people take different approaches in pouring. Even though it's not the ideal situation, what happens with a mold maker is he's gonna make a mold 1 or 2 times like that, and then he's gonna realize, oh, maybe I should be looking at a better way, because he now has to solve problems later on or off camera, which you just saw. So even though I bark about being a wrong way, it's because I've already done it that way and I already learned from that. But this person maybe didn't, but I'm appreciative they took the time to make the mold video. So I give them a high five on that. It came out okay. I would have liked to see the casting.